Tune in to watch our communities grow. See how our citizens, local governments, churches, small businesses, schools, and our local sports teams are coming together and partnering to make the difference. Are you ready? Let's go! Welcome to the Community Difference, Plano, Texas, with your host Nathan Smith, and powered by the Difference live stream radio and podcast. So if you love your community and you love supporting the folks and businesses that make your community so special, then we invite you to like, follow, and subscribe to our pages, and then tune into each show to experience the community difference.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Community Difference, Plano, Texas, the first in our series of community shows set to bring awareness and attention to the amazing things happening in our small communities, sometimes large communities. Plano's a pretty large city growing rapidly. But our goal, of course, is to bring together awareness and relationship between our small businesses, our community leaders, chambers of commerce, school districts, our local sports teams, churches, etc. All the groups, all the people, all the citizens that are an integral part of community life, right? Making us aware of the good that's happening in our communities, the inspiring stories, getting to know one another, doing business with one another, and really bringing a synergistic effect. I love that word. To the multiple parts of our communities, making the whole better than the individual parts. And so we've been working on these shows here for about a month, and we're glad to launch. We're excited to launch Plano, Texas. We're going to do that on the third Tuesday of every month. So if you're a small business owner in Plano, if you're part of the Plano Chamber, we got a lot of relationships that we're working to make there. If you're in any networking groups, I'm a part of Master Networks. If you're in any Plano chapters of Master Networks or have a business here, part of the Plano ISD, City Council, you just live in Plano and you want to learn more about Plano, this is the place to be. I kind of want to see this as like the Plano refrigerator, right? You put all the things good that are happening up there to celebrate life in this great city. My wife and I have been here now for about 5 years. Grew up in Rowlett, but quickly moved to Plano after we got married. And so we're excited to be here. We're excited to launch this show. We're going to do this show monthly. We continue our Community Difference shows every Tuesday at 2 p.m. right here on the Difference live stream radio and podcast. Now recently on YouTube, still on Facebook, and with many exciting platforms to come in the very near future. So the third Tuesday of every month will be our specific Plano, Texas show. And then right now, until we lock in some other cities specifically, we'll be opening those up to the wider North Dallas, North Texas community and beyond. So we have no idea where this is going, where it's growing, if you will. I think when Lyndon Wilson started the Difference back about 3 years ago, had no idea it would grow to the point that it is now. So we are very blessed to find the people that have been a part of what we're doing, the relationships we've made through our sponsors, our partners, our affiliates, our show host. It has been a great tool for bringing people together. The ROI, I know, has been very big for a lot of our partners and sponsors, and just the relationships that have been built here. And so we want to continue that. We want to continue and take that to basically multiply the effect and the connection and the difference, not to be very punny, but definitely punny at the same time, that what we're trying to do here. So I'll welcome you once again to the Community Difference, Plano, Texas. Plano is a very rapidly growing city. I think all of Collin County is. So our neighbors to the north, I just totally lost the names of all our neighbors: McKinney, Allen, Princeton. You got Frisco, you got Prosper over there. And then to the east, all these areas have just been growing like crazy. Saxe Wiley, part of Collin County, man. But I think I set the example, right? For the past 10, 12 years, just been exploding. And we're super excited for what is coming here in the next, 5, 10 years. Got a lot of people moving into the city. And so I know, as our native Texan, we want to remind everybody, not only why Texas is great, but why Plano is great. So make sure that you can have a lot of values, as long as you keep the values that make Plano the fun, growing, free, economically beneficial, small business friendly community that it has become. And so I know our native Planoites, I guess, Planoites. I never know what to call communities because it could be anything. But um, we're gonna go to commercial here in about 5 minutes. I do want to bring on Lyndon Wilson, the creator of the difference, here for a few minutes before we bring in our first guest here at about quarter past the hour. Lyndon, talk about a little bit, why you're excited about these shows. First of all, I think there's an elephant here. It's not really an elephant, but on a totally unrelated note, I'm just going to drop a sports nugget on you. So, were you surprised when you saw that Tom Brady came out of retirement after being retired for 6.5 minutes?
No, but I tell you what, if I'd have bought that last touchdown football for $500,000, I would have been a little upset.
Yeah, it's still, it's going to probably reduce in value quite a bit. It'll still be worth something.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's got to be worth something because it was supposed to be worth something and then it wasn't. So maybe there's just like a rarity value. Some collector somewhere will want to buy that.
It's a retirement, non-retirement ball now, not necessarily a touchdown ball.
Yeah. Well, so talk about where do you see, one, why are you excited that we're here in Plano, and then just on a larger scale, the community difference as a whole. I think I touched on how we got here, but where do you really see this growing over the next year and beyond?
Well, where I hope that it grows, what we have kind of developed and realized over the last 3 years is that, one of the things that we talked about when we first started the difference, and we were helping small businesses brand and use social media to get that message out. Most businesses don't struggle or fail because of a bad product. They struggle or fail because not enough people knew who they were and what they do. And one reason is because we don't approach, we don't simplify things, right? And so, watching what's going on in the world, in our country, I wanted to be able to go back to the grassroots level. I'm a small town boy, right? I grew up in a small town in Arkansas. Everybody knew your business. That could be good. That could be bad, right? Depends on what you're up to, I guess. But what I wanted to be able to do is bring the awareness to all the good things that are happening in our communities. Because if you're in the right circle, sometimes you hear all the good things. Sometimes you hear all the bad things. Our major networks have kind of gone to that National Enquirer type, reporting, and just always giving the bad, sensationalized, dramatized twist to what's going on. And I think that also they kind of, and I think there's money in it, but they kind of tell us what we should think, how we should feel, who we should like, who we should not like, who we should be afraid of. And I don't think that that's really how, when you get down to it, that's how our communities are working. I think that we all want the same things. We want peace. We want prosperity. We want an opportunity. That's it. It doesn't matter who you are, what race you are, how much money you have, if you're male or if you're female. We all want those same things. And those are the things that kind of, that give us that purpose for being, right? And so I wanted to bring awareness to what's going on. People in Plano want to know what's going on in Plano. People in McKinney want to know what's going on in McKinney. We don't care so much what's going on in New York City. I mean, we really don't. That doesn't, it does impact us to a certain degree, but we need to get back to focusing on what's right around us and take care of that first, or we're never going to be able to take care of the other things that might be having an negative impact on our country, on our states, and on our communities.
Yeah, and I think that's if you're looking for all the bad things that are going on, you will have no shortage of outlets to find that. But that's one of the things that I think you and I are both passionate about, is that there's just so much still that's good about our world, about our community, and we can actually turn the tide and move the narrative in another direction. Right. And so many people in my generation and before have a kind of a macro impact view, meaning they want to make the big change on an international level or a national level. They have like millennials, who I don't necessarily claim. That's another story. I love you, millennials. They want to have this major impact, right? But they don't think about how to get there on a small scale, right? And so when you should always have big goals, big dreams. I think everybody wants to matter. We have a saying in our business: everybody wants to be somebody, right? And everybody wants to matter. Everybody wants to impact. They want to do good. They want to have some sort of connection. But when you have these big, grandiose ideas and no pathway to get there, well, then you can get really depressed. And that's where you see a
Yeah.
lot of negativity, right? Because everybody has their views for the country or what they want their person who they voted for to do, whatnot. But all of that stuff really generates, one, the kind of person you are and the
Hmm.
kind of person you're becoming. So if you're not working on yourself, you're going to have a hard time impacting other people. Okay, you got to take care of your own house first.
Right.
And starts on a very micro level in your community. The biggest change you can affect are the people and the relationships that you interact with. The small businesses whose doorsteps you darken, who you give your business to, the
Right.
business relationships that you make with your business and other businesses, how well you know your city council people, how well you know your community leaders, how well you know the people that are responsible for teaching your children, right? Unfortunately, we've forced ourselves into being more aware of some of that stuff in other parts of Texas and other parts of the country because things are getting a little out of control. But you don't want to wait till then, right? Build those relationships early and make the difference at the small level. And so, I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to bring on Shelby in just a moment after our commercial break. Shelby Williams, fantastic city councilman for Plano, Texas. Great guy. We've had him on our old show. That's still a show. The show I used to co-host, Real Talk with Brian Podesta. We had him on last year,
Hmm.
fourth quarter. Great guest. Super excited about what he's going to share. And so here in about 30 seconds, we'll go to commercial. But I am just tickled to death that, I think that we're really going to make an impact as we start bringing in businesses to not only have on the show, but partner with different affiliate sponsors. The opportunities here, I think, are endless. And I'm excited because I've always been one of these people that want to know as many people as I can, not so I can feel good about myself and, oh, I'm popular and whatnot. That's conceited. When you make those connections because you want to connect others and you want to give and you want to see things function and thrive in a way that they were created or intended to do. And I think community life is something that needs to be reclaimed in a way. And
I agree.
so, we want to highlight those things and really inspire our local communities, especially in the great city of Plano. So we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we will introduce our first guest, and we got a great show for you guys. I am Nathan Smith with Community Difference Plano. We'll be right back.
Today's show is made possible by the following small business partner: Home Title Live. Home title protection with up to $1 million guarantee in case of fraud. Ace of Bull Online Texas, real estate school and courses, offering Trek-approved pre-licensing, CE, SAE, and broker licensing courses. Smart Credit Monitoring helps you control your credit score, money, and identity, all in one place. Phone.com. Phone.com is the modern, work from anywhere solution for today's agile, mobile, and always on entrepreneurs and growing businesses. CoreNet, business asset and liability protections. Our business filing experts will help you get your business moving. Start a business, incorporate or form an LLC today with CoreNet. For more info about our sponsors and their services, or if you'd like info on how you and your business can sponsor this show or others like it, just check the show description or in the comments for the relevant links. And now back to the show.
All righty, welcome back to the Community Difference, Plano, Texas, third Tuesday of every month. I'm your host, Nathan Smith with Freedom Freestyle, the place for all of your needs from financial insurance, but ultimately from setting people free. I have a passion for giving people hope, not only in their finances, but more in their vocation. Are you tired of your dead-end job? Want to do something different? Don't realize that a business opportunity, a business career, owning your own business is possible, man. I love to talk to you because that is a passion I have, realizing that there are other options to getting people free than the 40-year route to retirement, which doesn't always work, right? you put yourself in the right place, the right resources, the right business opportunity, the right markets, obviously, you can do some pretty amazing things. So, love to have conversations with you, but we're not here for me. We're here for our amazing guest today. We are focusing, highlighting on the great city of Plano, Texas. Um, Tons of growth in Plano, actually, the last 10 years. I want to bring on Shelby Williams, the city council member from Plano. And I would say, oh, wow, that is a great background, Shelby. That's awesome. It looks like you're outside. Even your lighting is like really perfect. That's fantastic. So
Yeah.
talk to us.
Yeah,
I sent Shelby some ideas of what we want to talk about today. But first of all, let's just start on the growth. How long have you been in Plano? How long have you lived in Plano?
Well, my wife and I moved here in 2003 to start a family, so 19 years.
Okay. And so when you moved in, I didn't ask you this in advance, so if you don't know the exact numbers, no worries. If you when you moved here, roughly what was the population of Plano? Do you remember?
This is going to be a hip shot. I'm guessing it was around 200,000 people, maybe 210, 220.
Okay.
We are now clocking in at 287,000.
287,000. So, and I feel like a lot of that has been since like 2010 that really started taking off.
It did. I'd say one of the largest periods of our growth was around 2010 to 2018, 19.
Yeah. It's a combination of, obviously an influx of a lot of people coming from other states for various reasons. Texas is pretty awesome. That's kind of the obvious reason, but Plano specifically, lots of businesses like international companies, national companies moving to Plano. But I think it's a very ripe environment for the small business owner as well. Talk about for a second kind of why you feel like the soil, in a sense, is good and that so many people are coming to the area.
Well, it's manifold. I mean, there are multiple reasons. I'll say regarding the destination is Plano for a corporate headquarters or regional headquarters destination. That is the case, and that was deliberately cultivated by prior city councils. But in terms of the small business environment that creates, corporate headquarters cannot exist in a vacuum. They don't exist by themselves. So the better the corporate and business environment we have here, the more small businesses are going to be sustained by the employment opportunities and the corporate climate here as supporting businesses, and whether those are restaurants, gyms, whether they're insurance entities, etc. The list goes on. The only thing we don't really have in Plano is any real manufacturing base, but we have a wealth of professional jobs and all the supporting jobs. In fact, when we talk about restaurants, Plano was 2 years ago, I think, Yelp's number 4 foodie city in the entire nation. So
number 4
in the whole.
Well, that's because I knew like North Texas in general is like one of the top, if not the top in the country, the whole kind of region. But yeah, that number 4, that explains a lot because there are a ton of great places to eat in Plano. Absolutely. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, no, not at all. But it's a great point. Without the sustained and sustainable business environment we have, we couldn't be the number 4 foodie city because we've created a great environment for restaurants and other non-corporate headquarter businesses. But that's why Plano is such a great area for small businesses, never mind all the headlines that we get for headquarter relocations.
Yeah, and I think this is not to make this a political discussion, but I think the restaurant community was very well supported in Plano during COVID. Obviously, across the nation, everybody shut down at some point, but there was a kind of a let's get out of the way and help these restaurants and businesses stay in business and open back up as soon as possible. And there wasn't a deterrent necessarily from anyone in the city of Plano. I think that was very helpful. When you see that your community leaders and your city council and those that are kind of the governing bodies are supporting you rather than hindering you. And we've seen how that has gone awry in other communities, mostly not in Texas, but a few, and we won't name them. But it's very encouraging. I know as restaurant owners, I'm not a restaurant owner, but I know a lot of people that are in that industry to have that ability to make their own decisions for the most part and really do what they believe is best for their small business, for their restaurant. And so that's a really big deal. Take a moment to just kind of talk about some big events, updates, things that are coming down the pike in Plano that we're excited about. Kind of where you guys are going by the end of the year, big agenda items, things like that.
Sure. Well, most eminently, I'd like to highlight that in a week and a half, on Saturday, March 26th, we are going to have the first ever Texas Forever Festival in commemoration of Texas Independence Day. We're actually a few weeks off the mark, but that's how the schedule had to align for our inaugural event. So that's going to be an all-day event at Haggard Park in Plano. And to my knowledge, this is the only Texas Independence Day festival north of Washington on the Brazos.
Oh, wow.
So we're very, I'm sorry, it's at Haggard Park in Plano. It's, I think let me confirm the hours for your audience. It's from, I think it's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Haggard Park in Plano.
Where is Haggard Park?
Haggard Park is it's considered around downtown Plano. It's just west of the Interurban Rail Museum. Actually, they're actually locked together.
Oh,
so
okay. So this is embarrassing. I go to that park all the time with my son and my wife, and I never knew what it was called. So
there you go.
I know the Haggard family an apology. So I apologize.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's a great space.
If you were at the Dickens Festival that we do in December, it's the same park.
Okay. And you can get information on that event on the Plano.gov website. It's just on the events calendar.
That's correct. In fact, when our next guest is, I'll try to find a good link for you to show to your audience.
And Lyndon, I just shared the Plano. I shared the Plano events calendar link. If you want to throw it up for our audience to check out. One of the things that I'll just cut in here because I was looking at that earlier. Having a young son and another one coming before long. I just told that to like the whole world, and I don't think we've announced that yet. So I'll probably get yelled at by my wife for that. That's okay. She's lovely. She wouldn't yell at me. Thank you. One of the things I'm all embarrassed like crap. One of the things that we always like, and she does a lot of this because I'm working during the day, but the library system, and it's a weird thing to talk about because no one asks like when you're moving to a city, well, what are the libraries like? But it's really important because there's always activities from the library right by our house off of 18th Street, one over off of Parker, Independence area. I think that my wife takes our son to, but there's always activities, from hands-on stuff, reading. I mean, they do all kinds of different things 3 or 4 days a week. So there's always something to go to. He loves it. She loves it. But that's just a small way that I think Plano really gives back. And there's all kinds of different activities. I mean, you can see there's pretty much something going on. It looks like I'm looking at the calendar, like every day of the month, just about. And so I think when you see a city that's growing and vibrant, you're going to see activities. You're going to see things that are give your citizens an opportunity to engage and get out of the house. And I know that we spent a year and a half in the house, a lot of people, so it's good to get out as much as possible. A couple other things. You're a city council for Plano. You and I talked, I think, a couple weeks ago. Talk to me about the structure because this is something I didn't know. I follow national politics a lot. I'm trying to get more involved on the local level, and we'll talk about the importance of that in just a moment. But there's really two ways that a city government is structured. And talk to me about those two ways and how Plano is structured. And I think you told me, if I'm not mistaken, that you guys are not really segregated by district. You're kind of every city council represents every citizen. Am I saying that correctly?
That's correct. Now,
Okay.
and this causes a lot of confusion every election. So first, in terms of the general structure in Texas, there are basically two forms of government. There's the strong mayor form of government, where the mayor is effectively the city manager, and then there's the council manager form of government, where the mayor is kind of the chairman of the board, the council is the board of directors, and the city manager is the CEO of the city. Plano has the council manager form of government. So our city manager is Mark Israelson. He's effectively the CEO of the city. The city council, which consists of 8 members, including the mayor, is the board of directors, and the mayor is essentially the chairman of the board. Now, we each serve 4-year terms. We're limited to, so we have an election every 2 years in odd numbered years. We had an election last year. I was elected in 2019. I'll be up for re-election next year in 2023. And then we'll have another election in 2025, and like clockwork. So 4-year terms. We're each limited to 2 terms on council, and possibly an additional 2 terms as mayor specifically. So that's what our former mayor, Harry LaRoselier, did. He served on council, and then he served as mayor, and he was term limited as mayor. And our new mayor, John Munns, was elected last year. And so he's in his first term. And with 8 seats, 4 of our seats are geographically restricted. They're called, all our seats are called places, place 1 through 8. And 4 of them are geographically restricted, but that only means you have to live there to run there. It doesn't mean you have to, only people who live there can vote for that seat. Everybody in Plano can vote for everybody on the Plano ballot. The reason we have those 4 geographically bound seats is because it was discovered many years ago that I think it was 6 of the 8 council members all lived within a mile of one another in West Plano. And so the council at that time, the people at that time decided, you know what, we need a little more geographic representation, because East Plano is fairly different from West Plano, and we cover enough area, 72 square miles, that not all parts of Plano are alike.
100%. Well, I got a lot more questions I want to hit on the back end of the show. We're going to take a commercial break, and then we'll come back, introduce our next guest, and I'll bring you back in at the end, because I want to know, I want you to tell people how they can get more involved or more aware at the local political level, how to do that, why it's important, because I think we look at voter turnout for local elections, and it's embarrassing, quite honestly. But I was as much guilty of that as anybody else. So how can we curb that and kind of show the value of being involved at the local level? And then we'll hit that up at the end of the show. We're going to go to commercial break. We'll be right back. Thanks.
The Difference Radio, live stream and podcast, the voice of small businesses and the communities they serve. Over the last 24 months, The Difference has evolved into a powerful internet media company that helps small businesses and local communities and nonprofit organizations create, produce, broadcast, and distribute a variety of shows, all designed to empower our communities, the businesses, the people, the places, and the events that make our cities, communities, and the folks that live there so very special.
With almost 1.5 million viewers and listeners in the last 2 years, The Difference and its unique strategy of positive impact branding has helped communities and small businesses be seen, be heard, and be remembered.
In a world that is consumed with negative press, media manipulation, and propaganda, The Difference, along with many others who believe in and support The Difference, understand that there is no better way to make the difference in our communities than to highlight the unsung heroes and high achievers that call our towns and communities home. And we wanted to create a platform that does just that. One that brings awareness to and reminds folks of the goodness that lives within so many of us and our neighbors.
And don't forget to hit that like, follow, and subscribe button, and tune in each week so you can experience the difference.
Yes, please do like and subscribe, share The Difference. So many opportunities, guys, to partner with our vision, what we're doing. Welcome back to the show, The Community Difference, special Plano, Texas edition on the 3rd Tuesday of every month. We might even be doing a special 5th Tuesday of the month this week, or not this week, this month on the 29th, because we do have, in fact, 5 Tuesdays in March. So I am your host, Nathan Smith. Welcome back. We have had exciting conversation with City Councilman of Plano, Shelby Williams. We're going to bring him back in at the end of the show here. I have a couple more very important questions for him. But if you want to get involved with the difference, man, you can start as an affiliate for as little as really less than $1 a day. So you talk about just getting your stuff out there, branding, getting people to see what you're about, what you're doing. Obviously, we're always looking for great guests as we grow these shows, specific guests from these communities that we're partnering with. Lots and lots and lots of opportunities. The way to contact us, scrolling below, 972-866-4596 or info at thedifferenceradio.com. Love to have a conversation with you, see what would be right, where you would fit in with what we're doing, where we're going, our vision, and just more importantly, even if you don't do anything, love build relationships, get to know the people in our community. So thank you, Shelby. Great talk the first half of the show. Bringing our second guest here in just a moment. This guy is somebody you talk about just seeing a need and saying, I'm going to solve this issue. And so Tim Labatsky, I should say, I'm not good at pronouncing names with Z's and Y's in it, so please forgive me, saw a need during COVID. Just so many, you talk about what I shared with Shelby a minute ago, how Plano was instrumental in really supporting local businesses in being able to get back open and doing what they needed to do to survive in that tough time. And so on a much wider scale across the country, there was, just all kinds of different struggles in a business at a business level, whether it be restaurants or any other local businesses from town to town. Tim Labatsky saw a need. He started a Facebook group, an organization called Patriot-Owned Businesses. Want to find out how that happened, how that came to be. And, it's so great when you see people just find a need, fill a need, basically, right? That's the whole mantra of business. That's why businesses are successful. And he saw an opportunity to help local businesses across the country. Patriot-Owned Business has been taking off in a way that it's hard to describe. And he hosts the show, Patriot-Owned Businesses, on The Difference. Please help me bring in and welcome Mr. Tim Labatsky. Welcome, Tim. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
I am doing fantastic. I love your light up sign that you have in the back. I need one of those. Mine are all digital that I've created here. I need a real one. That's like a bar sign or something. That's pretty fantastic. So
we have a Patriot-Owned business that can do that for you.
Really? Well, that's good because I'm going to talk. Oh, and it changed. Oh my gosh, changes color. That is, I 100% want one of those. We'll talk after the show. So, well, first of all, man, we haven't really got the chance to meet up. I think we're supposed to get together here in a couple of weeks, and I know I'm going to be on your show. I hope you know that I'm going to be on your show. Shannon reached out to me the other day, so hopefully she told you that I said yes. So I'm looking forward to that next Thursday. The Patriot-Owned Business is Thursdays at noon, I believe, every week. And so, man, Tim has had some phenomenal guests, some big name guests. Chad Prather, one of the government candidates for governor that ran recently, was on the show. Funny guy, great guy. But talk to us, Tim. How did Patriot-Owned Business get started? I know, I think I understand why you started it, but at what point were you like, we've got to do something, something's going wrong here, and you took it upon yourself? Kind of walk us through that story.
Well, it was back in 2020. I've always been a supporter of small businesses as much as I could. So some local businesses, as Shelby had said, we may have visited one more than others. And when it started coming down to the lockdowns, they weren't quite as friendly as they were before, to say it nicely. So we've been there. To give you a quick background, this has been brewing for a while. Let me step back for a second. Do you remember when the lockdowns first started and they were saying, all right, these places have to close, but these don't?
Right.
I remember specifically walking into a Walmart the day after that, and they already had the little things on the floor that said, walk this way, you have to go this way, stand here. When we left,
I didn't follow this.
Yes, I didn't either. But I noticed them on the floor, and we left, and Shannon was with me, and I said, do you find it funny that the day after they announced this, that they are the big companies like Walmart already has this stuff in place. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I do know it takes longer than 24 hours to manufacture and distribute floor signs that say, due to COVID, walk this way. So that's probably where the fire got started. So anyways, back to where I was at, we go to this restaurant that we go to, or used to go to, probably, I would say, even once a week. Everybody knew us by name. We go in one evening, there's us, the people that work there, and one couple sitting down. I've never worn a mask. I refuse to wear a mask. We go in, he says, you have to put a mask on. I said, what for? The table is 10 feet from me. Can I just sit down? Nope, that's the rules. So we left, and I was so mad in the truck. I was honking the horn and griping and complaining, and Shannon's like, well, what are you going to do about it? I said, you know what? I am going to do something about it. I'm not one just to sit back and gripe and complain about it. I am going to do something about it. So in the works, we created POB, Patriot-Owned Businesses, on Facebook, just as basically a thing for our friends and family that we knew personally, and businesses that we already knew believed in the same thing that we believed in. And it started out, the funny part is when we first started, I think the original name was American Patriots Supporting American Patriot Businesses, which is,
that's a very long name.
We actually had met somebody and we're telling them about it. And Shannon says, what's the name again? I was like, I don't know. I got to look it up on Facebook. So we whittled it down to Patriot-Owned Businesses. And now a lot of people, and including myself, call it POB. But we had probably 35, maybe 50 people in there. And then as we started talking about it and talking to these businesses, it grew a lot more than we ever thought it would. And now I think as of today, and I just checked it, we are about a smidgen to breaking 11,300 members. So that's how it got started. That's where it's went. And obviously, you know, I don't know how much you follow it, but we've expanded it to, we do events, you know, we're going out of state. We're in 46 states now, and we have probably 1,200 businesses in the group.
Man, now the last thing I saw is that you don't have any like officially, you know, and you can walk people through in a moment if you will, how to kind of officially put their mark on the map of their business associating with Patriot and Business. But last time I checked, you didn't have any that were in Plano, correct?
Yeah, we've probably got maybe 2 or 3 that are in Plano.
Now, okay, good. Well, so I'm one of them. So I know I responded to that message the other day. So, and I want to, you know, because, it's sad that this has become this, but, you know, the term patriot, right? Used to, you could be a patriot and have different views. There were patriots on the left and right, you know, the people that just wanted, you know, freedom. They wanted, you know, government to generally stay out of their business. They wanted to be able to live their lives. And it was something that most normal everyday citizens could rally around. But unfortunately, the term patriot has kind of got a bad rap, or it's been distorted. When you say that word, when you hear that word, what does that mean to you, Tim?
I mean, it's pretty simple. Being American, we're all blessed at being Americans. Either you're born here or you come here, kind of like being a Texan. You know, you're either born here or you end up here.
Right.
The same thing for America. You're either born here or you end up here. And if you're here, probably America more broader than Texas. If you came from another country, there's a reason why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Land of opportunity. You can basically say and do whatever you want within the constraints of the law, and you're free. A patriot, to me, in my mind, without showing you the definition on a T-shirt, is a person that respects, honors, and defends that ability.
Mm-hmm.
which is what we all do. I respect it. I will always honor it, and I will defend it as much as possible, which is what we've been doing.
Yeah, and I think too, like you said, it's just being, and this goes back to what Lyndon said at the beginning of the show. There's so much, negativity and blame that goes around about the country and this group or that group, and it, not that it's never appropriate to recognize wrongdoing and past atrocities and current atrocities and whatever. I mean, you never want to sweep stuff under the rug, but there's a level of just being grateful that I think our generation and the country on a whole has really lost. And so that when I think of patriot, that's what I think of. I think, you can, some people like to equate that to, if you're a patriot, you're a gun-loving, Bible-toting redneck, and there are gun-loving, Bible-toting rednecks that are patriots. But that doesn't have to, I mean, that's not necessarily the case. So if you can get behind what Tim said, just learning to be appreciative of what we have here and for pushing the things that are going to allow that to continue, allow us to continue to thrive in that environment. You can have, there is room for many different views on many different things in the definition that Tim just gave. But the biggest commonality is one, the reason America works, and I'm getting on a soapbox here, is that it's not the diversity. The diversity is awesome because it allows us to see different cultures and different lifestyles, different people. My gosh, we wouldn't have, there's really no such thing as American food without diversity. We wouldn't have all the food options that we do in the country. But it's the assimilation, the commonality based in almost entirely in the fact that there is opportunity, there is freedom, there is the most mobile upward mobility opportunity of any country in the world here. You can be born poor and end up independently wealthy. Basically, you pass, you graduate high school, you don't have children out of wedlock, and one other thing, I can't remember what it is, and you have like a 95% chance of making it to the middle upper class. I mean, it's really amazing, and not that you can't do it if you don't do those things. I mean, that's how great this country is and how much we've been blessed. And so we're going to go to commercial here real quick, Tim, but I want to bring you and Shelby back in a moment at the end for the last 15 minutes and talk about kind of crosstalk a little bit, finish up some questions for him, but really want to talk about how people get involved with Patreon businesses, how they kind of say, yeah, that's totally me. That's what I want to be a part of. And then what message would you send to Plano business owners as a patriot, as if they want to be a part of this, or just something you want them to know based on your experience? So think about that. We're going to hit the last commercial break, and then we'll come finish up for the last quarter of the show.
Today's show is made possible by the following small business partner: Home Title Lock, home title protection with up to $1 million guarantee in case of fraud. Ace of Bull Online Texas Real Estate School and Courses, offering Trek-approved free licensing, CE, SAE, and broker licensing courses. Smart Credit Monitoring helps you control your credit score, money, and identity, all in one place. Phone.com. Phone.com is the modern, work from anywhere solution for today's agile, mobile, and always on entrepreneurs and growing businesses. CoreNet, business asset and liability protections. Our business filing experts will help you get your business moving. Start a business, incorporate or form an LLC today with CoreNet. For more info about our sponsors and their services, or if you'd like info on how you and your business can sponsor this show or others like it, just check the show description or in the comments for the relevant links. And now back to the show.
All righty, guys, welcome back. We're going to finish the last quarter of our show. My name is Nathan Smith, host of the Community Difference Plano, special Plano edition, Plano, Texas. Every Tuesday, third Tuesday of the month, I should say, 2:00. Man, this hour just flies by. We'll go ahead and bring back in Shelby Williams, if you will, Lyndon. And one final question for you, Tim, before we kind of jump into crosstalk here. how do people get involved with Patriot Owned Business? I know they can go to the website, but just walk us through. I watched a little bit of that video that you have kind of at the beginning there when you jump on, but just if you could give a quick, like, what's the thing to do to identify, like, this is me. I'm tracking with what Tim says. These are my values. I agree with, just that basic definition that you just gave.
It's actually pretty simple. You believe in supporting your family. You believe in the Constitution of the United States of America, and are you willing to uphold that? That's it. I mean, it's simple. POB is not a political organization. That's the three things. That's it. I mean, it's just like if you join our group on Facebook, that's pretty much what the questions are. If you believe in that and you support that, you're in. And the best part about it, it's free. Now I sound like the government. It's free. But almost knocked my sign over. But yeah, it's simple. There should be no backlash for you being a member of Patriot-owned businesses. The word patriot is not political. Owned obviously isn't, and businesses isn't. So join up, get supported. You can find us on Facebook and obviously online. And Lyndon has all that info. And we support them. Obviously everything you see around me right now and what I'm wearing is from a Patriot-owned business.
Yeah. I've already met a couple of really cool people on there, had some coffee with and built some good relationships with. And so I'm excited to see where that community grows and how you guys have already been a huge boost to the difference and kind of what that partnership and relationship is going to grow into over the coming years. And so to both you guys, well, one more question to Shelby before I ask a question for both of you. We talked about the political level, Shelby, the local political level. One, why do you think it's kind of like pulling teeth to get people to show up to be involved at the local political level when it comes to voting or turnout, voting for the mayor, unless something just like terrible is happening, then they show up and scream and yell at you. But other than that, there's not this kind of voluntary, I want to be responsible for what's going on in my community. I want to have my voice heard. It seems easy to do that at the national level where your voice is actually not heard that well. Your voice can literally be heard at the local level. So tell me why that is and what people can do to change that.
It's a good question. There are multiple factors. The biggest one, in my experience, is simply the media. You're right. Your voice at the national level is the smallest, but the media's voice at the national level is the biggest because the headlines on cable news channels, newspapers, etc., are all about what's happening in Washington because they can reach the greatest readership and viewership with the same bit of news. It's equally applicable to people living in New York, Plano, California, Kentucky, and just carrying a single news story. Aggregating that, or I should say diversifying that across all 50 states and communities is a lot harder. So the big bucks focus on Washington. Very rarely do they focus on Austin, but sometimes, almost never at a local level unless something really, really big is happening. So that's the short answer, because people watch television, they read the newspaper, hearing about what's happening in Washington. They're just not hearing about what happens at Plano City Hall, even not hearing about what happens in Austin in many cases. And yes, the turnout in local elections is abysmal. In fact, the number of people who actually show up to yell and scream at us is more people need to do that. But it's because of where their attention is. It's all at the national level. However, I'll tell people how to get involved. But number one, why you need to get involved. So I knew this when I ran in 2019, but I wasn't able to put it so succinctly. So 2/3 or more that impacts your day-to-day life actually happens at the local level, not the state level. No greater indication of this was in 2020. So when the riots started on top of the pandemic and the lockdowns, the same stuff was impacting us coast to coast. Nothing was different. However, the people in Plano's lives were radically different than the people in Portland's lives. That was 100% based on the local leadership, local culture, and the local level. So you need no no greater case study in why local elections matter, local government matters, and local community involvement matters than the difference between Plano and Portland in 2020. We hope never to become Portland. And part of the way to, now I'll get to the how, part of the way to do that is, number one, get involved in the community. Supporting Patriot-owned businesses is a great way to start. In fact, based on the number of clientele in the Patriot-owned businesses I've visited, it's a great boon to be a Patriot-owned business. So, but it also shows and it supports the businesses that are going to, like you're standing up for their freedoms, they're going to stand up for your freedoms. And it's a great way to cultivate that environment and that philosophy within a community. Second, it's harder because Fox News and CNN aren't carrying the information about your local elections. Pay attention to local elections because they do matter. Follow the candidates. In Texas, local elections are nonpartisan by law. There's no such thing as a nonpartisan election because we all stand for what we stand for, and everybody still wants to know whether we're Democrat or Republican. But by law, we're prohibited from indicating our party on our literature or our signs. It's frustrating to some people, but that's why they always ask. And so we can either hide that from people or just be upfront about it, and I am. And lastly, get involved in organizations, volunteering with your city, county, school board, as well as signing up to serve on boards and commissions. City of Plano is going to have our board and commission applications coming up in a couple of months here. So we have numerous boards that citizens serve on to kind of steer various aspects of our community. Get involved. And if you don't know where to start any of this, there are a number of resources. Just type Plano City Council, you'll find some. I do a council preview and a council recap video before and after every meeting. I show people in layman's terms what's coming up at council meeting, like the one tonight. And then after the meeting tonight, I'm going to do a video, usually between 10 and 20 minutes, recapping everything that happened in layman's terms and why it matters. And I put all on my website.
That's awesome. And your website is, you talking about the Plano website?
My personal website, although the City of Plano is starting to do that too. In fact, you can go to the City of Plano YouTube channel to get council recaps and other videos. My website is shelbyhwilliams.com. The H is important because otherwise we'll wind up at Shelby Williams Furniture Company in Tennessee. So shelbyhwilliams.com.
That's awesome. Well, so in the time we have left, guys, kind of to both of you, how do you think, or how do you see, because you both live in Plano. I just found out that Tim and I live like 5 minutes from each other, which is pretty cool. What do you see as a vision for Plano over the next, year, 5 years, 10 years? And along with that, how can the citizens of Plano really work together from a political level, but also as a business to business relationship to really do the things? And I think obviously Plano has a lot of these things in place just because of the freedoms and the way that the city is governed and managed, which I think kind of shows people's natural inclination are to operate in this capacity. But there's always room for growth, right? So what do you guys see as a vision for Plano over the next 1, 5, 10 years? And then how are the citizens, what's the best way to forge that relationship from business to business to local leaders, et cetera? So we'll kind of end with that, and I'll open that to both of you guys.
Well, Tim, I think you're best suited to speak to the business angle.
All right. And Shelby can answer the other part probably better than me, and I don't know, and Shelby can agree or disagree, but Plano is kind of divided. There's West Plano, and then us on the other side of the tracks, we're in East Plano, which is really no different than some of the big cities. East Plano is probably a little more, I don't want to say conservative, but just a different genre of people. As far as what they need to do is both sides of Plano need to talk, don't have to have some big group conversation, but people need to get out and speak their mind and talk. I went on a rant yesterday, which don't post this up here, personal Facebook page, kind of dealing with that exact problem, that you can sit here and say, this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem, and that's the end of it. Well, I don't want to hear about the labor pains. Just show me the baby. I hear your problem, but where's your answer? So a lot of people, and this is every city, but and going with Plano, it's the same thing, is speak your mind. Businesses do that here. Some businesses that are in POB, I get messages saying, hey, we just asked this person to join, or I know this guy that owns this business. They need to talk amongst each other. Even if you don't agree with them 100%, do something. If you agree with me 70%, like you might not like my shirt, that's fine. I'm not going to bash you for that. All I want is a reason, and we move past it, which is what the same thing with Plano needs to do. Is, and not saying it's east west, it's like Bloods and Crips, but everybody across the fence needs to talk. It doesn't have to be political. Just, hey, this is my vision of this. This is what I want to do. Plano is a great community. I've been here, let's see now, 7.5 years. I love it. But I can tell the difference when I go from where I live across to the other side. And there's no reason for that. There's good businesses over there. What you were talking about Plano, and I forgot to mention this, is Katy Trail on the west side of Plano is a member of the group. What Shelby knows that we met there.
Yep.
It's a hard hill to climb to try to get everybody to be on the same page. And Plano could do that because there is not this extravagant diversity in Plano. Just all they got to, and I'll stop with that. All they got to, because I'll get on a soapbox like you did. All they got to do is just open their mouth, say something, is all it takes. Say, use your words, as we were told in school. Use your adult words. Open it. Talk.
Awesome. Speaking of words, Shelby, last word to you before we close out today.
Well, Tim hit the nail on the head, and it's communication. We got to talk. So there is a significant divide, and it's not just east-west. It's political division. There are a number of divisions, but you can polarize or you can come together. It does not mean we're all going to be the same or think the same or even want the same things. But in order to make any progress, first, as Tim said, you got to come prepared to talk about ideas, not just complaining. If you're just yelling at the TV, then you're not doing anything good, anything useful. Second, I call this the concept of demigods and boogeymen. We've got to reject both. If there's somebody we don't like, reject the idea that they are the boogeyman upon whom we can hang all of our problems. Likewise, reject the idea that there are demigods out there who are going to solve all of our problems for us. That's us, we the people. So if you just talk to people with even if you disagree, you'll make some way than otherwise, which is you don't do that. I'm very proud that I was able to fulfill all of my campaign promises within 15 months of my election. But I didn't do it alone. I didn't just wave a magic wand and behold, my campaign promises are fulfilled. It took my fellow council members, it took the community to do it. And that would not have been possible without communicating, the most important part of which is listening.
100%. And, guys, first of all, we're right up against it here. And thank you so much, Shelby. Thank you so much, Tim. You guys are exactly the spirit, the enthusiasm that, I want to bring to this show. I know that we want to bring to Plano, but, if you are listening and you heard these guys and you're like, these guys don't know anything, they don't know what they're talking about, I want to hear from you too. I think both these guys are people that you can respectfully disagree with. That's the great thing about our communities, our country, that when we learn to respectfully disagree, like Tim said, when you just let your voice be heard, right? We want to do everything to get your voice heard as a business owner, as a citizen, as a concerned soccer mom, whatever that is. This is the place to do that, guys. Thank you so much. This is our first Community Difference Plano, Texas special. We will be back on the third Tuesday of April, but join us next week as we continue the Community Difference. We're going to open it up to all of our North Texas communities. Got some great guest plans. If you want to jump on the show, reach out to myself. You have my contact information below, or Lyndon Wilson, info@thedifferenceradio.com. That is our time. God bless. Thank you very much, and you have a great and prosperous week.